and we're underway and racing. Stay on the brakes, goodness me, what a launch! The outside of turn 1 and takes the lead of the race.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Almost Pro Championship. We're here in Austria for the 5th round of this season, and for the first time this season, it is a sprint, which means we've got 2 races coming up for you this evening. I'm Tom Dillon. I'll be your commentator for the next couple of hours or so. This is the sprint. It'll be 12 laps around the shortest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar. And then we've got, of course, your regular race weekend a little bit later on this evening. So the way this is going to work is it's 12 laps in reverse championship order, the standard Formula 1 sprint point scoring system. We're just getting into the lobby, so 30 seconds until it boots us out of the lobby and into the game. And, well, as I said, it'll be fairly simple. There shouldn't be any pit stops required. It is regular 50% tyre wear, so soft tyres should be able to just about do it towards the end of the race. I don't think we'll see anyone choosing to use those mediums as we go on throughout. But as I said, it should make for quite interesting racing. DRS is so powerful around this circuit, basically taking all of the downforce that you can off of the car, and over 12 laps it means everyone can basically just completely go flat out. This sprint has no bearing on the race later on this evening. That will be at 8:30, so the stream will end effectively, then we'll go into the next stream a little bit later on. However, there are some championship points on the line, standard Formula 1 sprint championship points, as I was mentioning earlier. So just waiting for everyone to load in pretty much, and then we'll be ready to get going here for this one. The 30-second timer now is on my screen, so that's suggesting that we won't be too far away from getting it going here. As I said, race 5 of the championship season, and the championship standings, I'll take you through those when I get the opportunity in a couple of moments' time, but they are making for interesting reading at this point in the season. Obviously, a man who's not present for the sprint today, I was going to say he's not present for the sprint today, but he might be. I haven't seen him. It's Wongsvat Reversi anyway. I don't think he'll be taking part in the sprint. It is an optional race. Drivers don't have to commit their availability to it as we go down to the grid to watch the formation lap start. We'll have a look at the driver standings. Wongsvat Reversi is got a pretty comfortable lead at this stage in proceedings. He's just about 20 points ahead of, or 28 points or so ahead of Andreas Senkovan, who's driven it so well this season. Lewis Smith, the reigning champion, has struggled a little bit in this season of the championship, but is in 3rd on 54 points. He's not a million miles off. Ethan Shackleton playing a good wingman role to Andreas Senkovan. Has been a bit of a story over the last couple of races. Michael Towers, very consistent there in 5th. So that's your top 5. Very much a Ferrari control of the team's championship, even if the Haas driver is pretty comfortable in the drivers. Here is that team's championship, and I say Ferrari are in control because Haas have only got 1 driver. So even though we're tied on points after 4 rounds of the season, that is a little bit deceiving, because actually it means that Alpine aren't. It means that Ferrari are always going to be gaining unless one of their drivers doesn't turn up. So having a look at everyone out on the track and making their way around, getting ready for this one. I'm just trying to hear in my ear the game sound. It wasn't overly loud for a moment. It's going to be the McLaren on pole position then. Very, very short lap around this Austrian GP circuit. If you excuse me, your screen may have very much gone black for a moment there. It's because I'm having a small technical issue with my my pictures here. There we go, got that sorted. There we go. Teething issues aside, this is the grid for you then. It is the McLaren on pole position of course, and being driven by Adam Watson. He'll be alongside the Red Bull of Geordie Lansing. On at the front row of the grid, Carl Stewart Woodard in third position with Michael Towers and Ethan Shackleton, your top five. Of course, supposedly starting on pole position was supposed to be starting in the back was Wongsvaart Reversi. You're on board with him now, but actually by the looks of things it's going to be Aaron McGurk who starts on that final spot in the grid. So he's slightly out of position, unfortunately, and interestingly, everyone has indeed chosen the medium tyres. I would have expected softs throughout the course of this one. Maybe those mediums just don't have as much of a cliff as you fall off. And do remember, actually, that this year's game, people do tend to prefer those medium and hard tyres. Anyway, let's ride on board briefly with Geordie Lansing, purely because it's not giving me the most fantastic camera angle of this race start. Here we go. DRS disabled for the first lap, 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. And it's a good start off of the front row of the grid for Adam Watson, who gets clear into turn 1. However, Geordie Lansing back on the inside line, trying to squeeze his way through. Carl Stewart Woodard looking to make up some positions. Michael Towers in to third straight away. We're going to stay too wide as they make their way down into turn 3. That's up the hill, and then hitting the brakes. It's purple sector 1 for Adam Watson, but he's been collected, I think, by Carl Stewart Woodward there, or I think actually that was my desing to the server briefly. We're right on board with Carl regardless as he makes his way around the outside, hits the brakes and gets himself into the lead of the race in this first lap. So it's overall been a pretty decent first lap, but there goes pole sitter off on to the gravel on the left-hand side. We ride on board with Wongsvaart Reversi. No positions gained so far for him, struggling a little bit to get himself ahead of Andreas Senkovan. That's the beauty of these reverse grids. You do struggle to get ahead of the people that you're battling with in the championship because you're so close together. We can also ride on board with Lewis Smith, who briefly had a look at Aaron McGurk, who briefly had a look at Lewis Smith. I got them the wrong way around as we make our way to the end of this first lap. Let's look at third position, where Michael Towers tries to get himself past Geordie Lansing, but isn't quite able to do so. Fastest lap of the race goes to Carl Stewart Woodard as we have DRS enabled. It won't be enabled on this straight, but the next straight it will be available to them. No, it will be enabled on this straight, excuse me, as here we go. Lead of the race will change as through goes Geordie Lansing down the inside line with 3 wide very briefly. Michael Towers looking to gain a position. Ethan Shackleton through into second as Carl Stewart Woodard is just edged out slightly, riding on board with the Ferrari driver, looking for that team's championship lead if they can get points in this sprint. Down the inside line it goes. Geordie goes a little bit deep, but it's just enough to fend off against the Ferrari driver. Already a relatively sizable advantage to second and third as Andreas Senkovan also joins in that kind of top 4, top 3 as we have a look at Michael Towers, who's just fallen off by the wayside a little bit. Carl Stewart Woodard, after a very promising first lap, has fallen down himself. Through, by the way, goes Wongsvaart Reversi, who's now looking at your previous champion, Lewis Smith, your reigning champion. Lewis Smith has been no way through for him just yet, but certainly Lewis Smith will be aware of the dangers of your championship leader in this race. I want to keep an eye on Ethan Shackleton because he's just behind Geordie Lansing at the moment. Right on board with Ethan as he sets the DRS ablaze, slightly reprofiled turn 2 in this year's game, and around the outside goes Ethan Shackleton. A pretty comfortable move for him. Andreas Senkovan goes for the move as well, goes to the outside line. Geordie Lansing just about holding on to the position as a drag race now down into turn number 4. Around the outside goes Andreas Senkovan. He's got to be brave to make this one as Geordie almost outbrakes himself completely. The Ferrari on the outside line will just about have the legs to make his way through as Michael Towers now looks to get himself back in to the podium running, but looks like there isn't really going to be any way through. So Lewis Smith continues to be just ahead of Wongsvaart Reversi, but for how long? Because there goes Reversi around the outside line. You can just about see that Haas car as through goes Aaron McGurk. So Wongsvaart Reversi just checks up ever so slightly and ends up not quite being able to find his way through. So in the lead of the race, fastest lap of the race is Ethan Shackleton. The man chasing after the championship lead will be gaining a few championship points on Wongsvaart Reversi with this one. Lewis Smith has got himself past his teammate in Carl Stewart Woodard as now Aaron McGurk trying to find his way through as he defends a little bit from Wongsvaart Reversi here down into turn 3. As there goes the McLaren. Adam Watson down the inside line, almost tags into the back of Wongsvat Reversi. He's stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place here. Can't really get through. Change for the lead, by the way, as Andreas Senkovan gets his way through on his teammates. And I think we're expecting him probably to be in the lead of the race. We're on board with Aaron McGurk as he's battling along, scrapping along with Wongsvat Reversi. On board with Reversi as he gets it done into my favourite corner on the racetrack, the left-hander. Now looking at Carl Stewart Woodard. The problem for Reversi is it has been a little bit frustrating. Here he goes, crossing the line to cross. Now able to get himself all the way to the outside line. Should get this completed. He'll have to be brave all the way around the outside, and is. So Reversi up in to 6th position, and the good thing is that there is no DRS for Lewis Smith just ahead of him. Lewis Smith is very much looking comfortable as it stands, but Reversi will be using that DRS to his advantage as they make their way into turn 3. Smith at the moment hasn't really found himself under too much challenge as we watch the battle at the front of the race, as Michael Towers has done a remarkable job to keep on board with these two. We're right on board with the Toro Rosso driver as he makes his way up the hill and into turn 5 through the corner. There isn't really going to be too much of a battle between all these drivers, as I think the Ferraris will be pretty content with just flying solo, or flying together as a team in this one. Kind of pedaling off the back of each other. Passes up the race, goes to Michael Towers. Into turn 1 he goes, just trying to attack Andrea Senkovan and Ethan Shackleton. Shackleton is the driver who tries to go for the lead of the race. They're not going to play the wingman role here, as Ethan Shackleton to the inside line. He's going to get himself ahead of his teammates, as now we ride on board with Michael Towers once again. What can he do, as he's right in the background of this shot? Back to the outside goes Andreas Senkovan. We're on board with the RB driver who's got the DRS himself. He'll be hoping to swoop around the outside line as Ethan Shackleton loses the lead of the race. Here he goes. Can he squeeze away through? Michael Towers has the battery deployment. He's going to go for the lead of the race as well. I think he looks for second position first and foremost. Shackleton carries a lot of speed on the outside line, and Michael Towers is just edged out ever so slightly in this one. So it's Andreas Senkovan who still has the lead of the race. His teammate not playing ball as well as he would have liked. Meanwhile, Wongsvat Reversi has now got himself past and ahead of reigning champion Lewis Smith. He looks himself to try and get himself ahead of Jordi Lansing, who did lead this race for a very brief period not so long ago, as he now actually sets the fastest lap of the race as well. Does Wongsvat Reversi. We're right on board with him for a moment. Gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining, and now goes to the outside line. Jordi Lansing really under pressure, and I think it'll be enough for Wongsvat Reversi. He's into the background goes Lewis Smith. He'll have the DRS to help himself. No, he won't, so actually there might be a little bit of a comeback here from the Red Bull driver. Goes to the outside line. Reversi just about able to hold on. And that should be all she wrote in terms of that battle, as he has to go around the outside line this time, and does. Move back to the lead of the race, where Ethan Shackleton has taken it back ahead of Andreas Senkovan. Lewis Smith getting past Jordi Lansing himself. Yellow flags in sector 2. That was Aaron McGurk, I think, who had a little issue. 3-second time penalty. That's crucial, actually. 3-second time penalty for Michael Towers gives Wongsvat Reversi the podium position at the moment, and therefore only a handful of points gained from Andreas Senkovan, who really needs a good round here. We're right on board with the championship hopeful, as already Constructors' Championship points well and truly in the bag for Ferrari. As to the outside line goes Andreas Senkovan. This should be fairly simple stuff from him, and it is. Michael Towers back to the inside line. Contact between himself and Ethan Shackleton, but with the 3-second time penalty, they can really relax here. It's not that big of a deal, him being just behind. As everyone making their way through, we can go back on board with Wongsvat Reversi. He's actually lost a little bit of time to those guys just ahead of him. Michael Towers needs a couple of positions here. He needs 0.6 of a second as well to stay ahead when we get to the checkered flag in just a few laps' time of Wongsbad Reversi. But those Ferraris looking very, very strong. Is Ethan Shackleton going to battle with his teammate a little bit more here? Remember, this isn't a huge championship points haul, as we have got yellow flags because Adam Watson has retired from the session. Shouldn't be a safety car at this late stage, or even a VSC, as we do go and get that clear quickly enough. Let's follow on board with Michael Towers. In fact, I was going to say Ethan Shackleton, but Michael Towers has had a fantastic exit and now looks to attack as they make their way down the hill and into turn 4. Looks like Ethan Shackleton goes to the inside line but can't quite find a way through. And now it is Michael Towers who has to stay in 3rd position, but he's got 4/10 of a second to gain in order to stay ahead of Wongsbad Reversi when we get to the line. At the moment, he's driving for his life to try and do that, but it's stuck behind these Ferraris ahead. So whilst they're not lapping faster than Reversi, he's not lapping faster than Reversi. He did make a mistake very briefly there as we head into the final 3 laps of this race. Given the fact you can expect to do about 1:06 around this circuit, 1:07. That's not a very long time at all. On board with Ethan Shackleton as the DRS, but does he have the guts to make a move ahead of his teammate who's fighting for the championship and would be helpful to grab all the points that he can as Jordi Lansing gets a 3-second time penalty? Shackleton is backing out of it for the moment. Needs to be careful because he knows he's had Michael Towers in the background very, very shortly as they make their way into turn 4. Change for the lead of the race. It's Ethan Shackleton back into the lead as Michael Towers dives down the inside line of Andreas Senkovan. It's a very, very bold move, and I think it's a move that's going to come off for him. Andreas Senkovan will have to defend down that inside line. Can he squeeze, hold on to it? He squeezes Michael Towers all the way onto the curb. He gives him just about enough room, and I think is able to stay ahead. So it's not horrendous of a situation for Andreas Senkovan. It now does finally squeeze himself ahead. Yellow flags in sector 2. Those were for Aaron McGurk very briefly. I think just had a little bit of a half spin. Penultimate lap of the race, and it's Ethan Shackleton looking to claim his first race win of the season with a bit of an asterisk. Doesn't quite count here in the sprint races. It's not a proper win, so to speak. DRS is enabled. Ethan Shackleton hasn't got very long to defend for as Michael Towers dives down the inside line. Is lucky to not absolutely career into the side of Andreas Senkovan there, but as we head into the final lap of the race, this favours one man, and that's Andreas Senkovan's teammate, Ethan Shackleton, just ahead. There's now 6-7 tenths per second between Senkovan and his teammate. Let's have a look at Ethan Shackleton as he makes his way through the final corner. One more lap to go around Austria. Remember, in just about 40 minutes' time, we'll be back for the main race here a little bit later on this evening. That'll be 36 laps around this circuit. But what an interesting race it has been so far as we're going to ride on board with Andreas Senkovan. Wongsbad Reversi looking to make his progress on the circuit as well. Around the outside goes Senkovan. It will have to be brave. Stays behind, crucially, at all parts of the corner, and now to the outside line. Will have the help of DRS, I believe. Why is he not using the DRS? Oh my word! In the background, round goes Michael Towers as he spins around, I think, through his own doing. But so frustrating, the Ferraris are going to continue to battle along as Ethan Shackleton is just ahead. I think his teammate might be employing a little bit of team orders here to just stay behind and be nice. Give his teammate that victory because he was so close for a very long time. Was Andreas Senkovan, but it's Ethan Shackleton who looks pretty sure to take victory now. Through the final 2 corners he goes. One more corner to go, and it's Ethan Shackleton who surely now takes victory in the for the first time this season. What a drive from him, and the sprint is won by a Ferrari 1-2. Wongsbad Reversi recovering to 3rd from last but 1 on the grid. Everyone else streaming across the line. It's a good recovery for Lewis Smith as well. He'll take a few points with Michael Towers in 5th position despite being pretty much in 3rd for the entirety of that race. So he'll be very, very frustrated with that, I'm sure. Driver of the day is Wongsvat Reversi. Don't think there's too many arguments with that. Before we go down, let's take a look at the sprint race results if you weren't with us about an hour ago. But Ethan Shackleton took victory ahead of Andreas Senkovan. Wongsvat Reversi in third position. Lewis Smith, Michael Towers, Aaron McGurk, Jordy Langsing and Carl Stewart Woodward were your results for that one. We can then, with that being said, make our way down and on to the circuit, getting ready for the fifth race of the season. What a race, as I said, it was earlier on with the sprint. We had so many interesting battles going on throughout the course of that one, and this one, I'm sure, going to be equally as interesting. So, in qualifying and Q1 at the moment, it is Wongsvat Reversi at the very top of the order, with Andreas Senkovan in second position on his top lap for his second qualifying run of the day so far. 4:39 is the lap time speed at the moment, which is pretty quick. 36 laps to lap 30. It would only take around 40 minutes or so. On the entire calendar, and usually is roughly speaking a soft to hard, a hard to medium to hard kind of race. That's what we come to expect from Austria. And to be honest with you, that tends to be the meta throughout the course of the F1 games, particularly in recent years, or particularly on this game, I should say. And on board with Ethan Shackleton. This actually is in lap, so 1:47 is the time to beat at the moment. We've got 10 people on the circuit at the moment. Let's take a look at your championship standings. Then these are updated after the sprints. Wongsvat Reversi, 101 points. Andreas Senkovan is in second position, with Lewis Smith a little bit of the ways back in third. As for the team's championship, Ferrari 9 points now ahead of Haas. That's from the sprint. They were equal on points heading in to this weekend, but that's how it has shaped up in this one. So you'll have to excuse me, I'm just making sure that our YouTube is actually YouTubing, let's say. And by the looks of things, it's having a few issues. So those are the championships. While I'm sorting that issue, we can take another look at the timing tower. We're going to ride on board with Andreas Senkovan, who is on a hot lap. So we do apologise. We just had to restart the YouTube stream here because of the technical difficulties that we're having, actually getting it to show on the screen. Hopefully it should now be working with 5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. And there we go, it is now live. So, welcome back to the Almost Pro Championship. We apologise once again for the technical difficulties. We just had YouTube having a little bit of a moment there as we tried to get the race, or tried to get the stream underway, I should say. If you've been on Twitch, you've been here the entire time, I believe. So we apologise for all of the fumbling around to get that sorted. As Rockets about Reversi goes to the top of the order. But welcome back, everyone. As I said, we do apologise for the outages there. First of all, my stream PC crashed. Then I click go on YouTube, and all of a sudden, YouTube decides that it's not going to go, and that's what's happened. So anyway, Rockets about Reversi's at the top of the order. We're going to ride on board with Lewis Smith. No, we're not, because he's actually coming into the pit lane. See, at the end of his last qualifying lap, there should be one more. We've still got 5 minutes to go in the session. So the good news is the good part of the session, so to speak, is still to come on board with Carl Stewart Woodard, as I think the majority of people now are actually in the pit lane. This is Connor Stewart Woodard. He's also come into the pit lane. So as maybe Aaron McGurk, maybe he's going to give us a lap, and by the looks of things, he's not full battery charge, just ghosting into the corner. Of course, everyone with plenty of sets of soft tyres, with the fact that you're not really using soft tyres throughout the race. I think most people are happy to use them all up throughout the course of the race. You probably want, throughout qualifying even, you probably want one set heading into the race just in case there is a late safety car or anything like that. Big chance of a late safety car today, of course. The final corner is particularly tricky in order to get right, and there are a few corners in general where you can find yourself going off into the barrier, but just kind of waiting for our drivers to make their way around. And looks like actually Aaron McGurk is now going to start his qualifying lap. So let's ride on board a little track guide around Austria, shall we? Aaron McGurk did pretty well in the sprint, or was set to do pretty well in the sprint, ended up finishing a little bit down the order. Going to look for about the 50-metre board here, flick it down to 5th gear, use all of the curb on the inside line. Almost looked like he validated there for a moment, but overtake as he makes his way past turn 2. That's where the MotoGP layout actually goes into its own little chicane as 3rd gear as he chucks it into the slightly off camber uphill right-hander. Now DRS, this is a major overtaking opportunity as you make your way throughout into the race, but obviously qualifying, it's actually the most simple corner on the circuit. 50-metre board again, 4th gear, dips it in and uses all the track on the outside lines. So Aaron McGurk is actually looking to be a pretty tidy lap. Pick out the 50-metre board again, 5th gear, not quite on the apex, but picks up the curb on the right-hand side, and it's actually purple in the middle sector. He's 1,000th of a second off at the moment, is Aaron McGurk, as he makes his way now into the final couple of corners. Again, we'll use that curb, pick it up on the left-hand side, and you're almost flat through there in 7th gear. Just a slight lift through the final corner, easy to invalidate on the left-hand side, makes his way up to the line, and it's a 4-1, so it's a really good lap time from Aaron McGurk. He goes about a 10th of a second slower, faster than Andreas Senkobank, and just a few tenths of a second slower than Wong's about to reverse. This is the outlap for Lewis Smith, who probably will have time to do 2 more laps at this rate, but makes his way into the final corner. Just getting that battery charge correct, making sure he's got a good enough gap to one of the McLarens. I believe it is. It's Adam Watson that he's concerned about, and Adam making his way through into turn 3. But we'll go back on board with Lewis Smith as he makes his way into turn 1, and already has backed out of the lap. I don't know what's happened there with Lewis Smith, unless out of the final corner he just invalidated, and it's meant that he's had to back out of it already and go for a double cool, potentially just get those tyres cooled down, get your battery charge back going. So it won't be the end of this lap that he goes again, maybe just the end of the next lap. Shouldn't use too much tyres. In fact, I think probably at the end of this lap, with the amount of time that's left in the session, Wong's about to reverse it, also getting himself ready for his final lap of the day. 2 minutes to go in this session, and then Michael Towers, he's making his way into the turn 4 corner. This is actually a lap for Michael Towers, and you can see he just misses the apex on the right-hand side. Looks very dark and gloomy overhead, and that is an invalidation as well from Michael Towers. So there's not quite enough for him. Just looking at the weather forecast for the race, there is 10% chance of rain towards the end of the day, so might be interesting. This is on board with Adam Watson, who's certainly invalidated there. He's not just track extended, he's cut the corner completely. It's a 1:06, a 1:59 even to end his qualifying session. Lewis Smith, what can he do? He's getting ready to go again here, look. We'll now put that battery charge to use. He's got a minute left of the session. Jordy Lansing retiring from the session. As here goes the first of them. Back Reversi gets turn 1 almost bang on perfect. Now makes his way up the hill past turn 2 into turn 3. He needs to be careful of the McLaren just ahead of him. 100-meter putt, gets it put in absolutely perfectly and gets himself out of the corner perfectly as well. DRS ablaze for Rongsvac Reversi. Sees in the background someone pulling off to the side of the road, and the McLaren pulling off to the side of the road as well, but it won't deter Rongsvac Reversi here in the Haas, driving very, very quickly, and I think this is going to be a pretty decent lap. We're going to wait for the Sector 2 split to see what it is. It wasn't purple in the first sector, and he's invalidated. So for now, Rongsvac Reversi is at the mercy of Aaron McGurk as he makes his way into Sector 3. This is actually his out lap, excuse me. So it needs to be very, very quick. Andreas Senkovan has also invalidated his lap time. Lewis Smith then is a 1/10 of a second faster than what he was. He's just about, oh, he's invalidated on the left-hand side. So it's the end of the session for Lewis Smith as well. Senkovan ends his session, so it's Ethan Shackleton we look to. What can he do? This is the last man to cross the line, apart from Carl Stewart Woodard. It's the last man you'd expect to potentially be in shot for pole position with this Ferrari. He took the sprint win a little bit earlier on. Is there going to be a pole position in the offing for Ethan Shackleton? Makes his way through the final corner, just about avoids invalidating. It won't be pole position, it will be a 5th position though, with his fastest lap at the end of that one. Andreas Senkovan is going to come into the pit lane. He of course won't take the checkered flag as he's found himself invalidating earlier on in this one. So actually a slight anti-climax as everyone kind of invalidates, causes themselves some bother throughout the course of that session. And Andreas Senkovan comes into the pit lane. A reminder of those championship standings then, which is that Andreas Senkovan narrowed the gap ever so slightly to Rongsvac Reversi a few moments ago. But it is only slight. It's 26 points between the two of them now, and then Ferrari very much in the hunt in the team's championship, looking dominant over there for the time being. 9 points between Ferrari and Haas. So we can take a look at the results. 10 people on the grid for this race today. And it is Rongsvac Reversi who takes pole position by a very strong 3.5 tenths per second ahead of Aaron McGurk, who has his best qualifying performance of the year so far in 2nd position. Andreas Senkovan in 3rd with Lewis Smith, a British trio of Lewis Smith, Ethan Shackleton and Michael Towers, 4th through 6th. Then it's Carl Stewart Woodard and his brother Connor Stewart Woodard in 7th and 8th, with Adam Watson in 9th and Jordy Lansing the rest of your top 10. So taking another look at this one, race 5 in Austria. As American Carl Stewart Woodard actually didn't put his setup on during the during the sprint, which explains why his pace was maybe a little bit down. We're just back into the lobby, waiting to get going for the race. 36 laps, a reminder, around this Austrian Grand Prix circuit. And what a track it is. It certainly produces some fantastic racing. I think we're expecting that throughout the course of this one. So we're waiting for that 30-second or so timer in a couple of moments' time. As I said, talk of strategy, we haven't unfortunately got our good friend Owen Boldero with us today. As He's still experiencing some internet issues that are keeping him out of the stream for the last couple of weeks, which is a great shame. We'll look forward to seeing him again soon. But yeah, that aside, I can tell you that it's probably going to be a hard to medium or a medium to hard, depending on what the drivers tend to do. I think generally speaking, in the F1 games, people big fans of just going from the mediums to the hards, because you can do so much on that versatile hard tyre that you just use the medium early on, and it gives you the room to pit early if you need to. Whereas if you start on that hard tyre, you are forcing yourself to go a little bit deeper into the race. I would suspect our medium tyres can do about 15, 16 laps around this circuit. I suspect that your hard tyres can probably do about 20 to 25. So I think probably, as I said, we'll be seeing a medium to hard kind of strategy. The pit window may be around about lap 12 or so. We'll wait and see, as I haven't driven this circuit in this year's game anyway for a very long time. There's a slightly longer wait than we're used to. It is normally about 2 minutes or so. Just while everyone applies their setups and tries to remember what buttons they've got mapped to the various pit strategies. There we go. Formation lap about to get underway. Wong's about Reversi, of course, on pole position. Looking at the tyre strategy then, it's as I expected, everyone starting on the medium tyres with the exception actually of Ethan Shackleton, who's going to try and make the hard strategy work. The problem he's got is that the hard strategy will work as long as there isn't a safety car in the first 10 laps or so, because he needs to use 2 tyre compounds at some point in this race, and those hard tyres are going to go the distance. If he can get to lap 18 or so and then put a set of mediums on, or lap 20 or so and then put a set of mediums on, then maybe there's a question. In fact, it'll be longer than that, won't it? It'll be about lap 25 we'll need to go on those hard tyres. The AWS thing should pop up in a moment and give us the pit stop strategy. But either way, he's got to go a long time on those mediums and then hope there's a safety car around about lap 20, lap 25, when he can just about stretch his mediums to the end of this race. But it's a very, very long race around Austria. It should go relatively quickly, but in terms of laps, it's a particularly long one. Reversi just making his way around the final corner. Get himself into his grid slot. He's actually been overtaken by Aaron McGurk because he's a little bit eager to go into his grid slot. A couple of burnouts being completed. So, ready to get underway. 36 laps of Austria. It's 5 red lights and it's lights out and away we go. And it looks to be relatively even start into turn 1. Wong's about Reversi is your race leader still. 3 wide in the background though as we try and pick up one of the Alpines. It's Lewis Smith getting himself ahead of Ethan Shackleton, who on the hard tyres had a little bit of difficulty getting away. The McLaren's jostling for position in the background as Michael Towers tries to look at Ethan Shackleton around the outside line. He goes into turn 3 as they Constantine are up. Shackleton is making his way through as Michael Towers actually gets the power down and gets past Ethan Shackleton. So he's up into 5th position. Now has a look at Lewis Smith down into turn number 4 as he hits the brakes hard but isn't quite able to find a way through. Andreas Senkovan still in at 3rd position as in the background they still battle it. Here goes Michael Towers. Is there an overlap he can find on Lewis Smith, who's fallen away from the drivers just ahead of him throughout the course of this first lap? And by the looks of things, it is going to be Michael Towers who just about stays where he is. Wong's about Reversi is setting purple sectors, of course, because he is in the lead on this first lap, but hasn't actually been able to stay too far ahead of his competitors throughout the course of this one, as Lewis Smith is soon to be battling with Andreas Senkovan, as DRS will be enabled on this lap. That's the rule change for this year. DRS enabled on that second lap, which means this straight is going to have DRS available to our drivers, and that should make for a pretty interesting jostling of position. As here goes Andreas Senkovan. He's got the run on that second place runner, Aaron McGurk, but he can't quite make the move stick on this occasion. The exit of the corner, he's pushing Aaron McGurk, excuse me, all the way through that corner, and now we'll hope to use a little bit of that battery deployment that he's got with him to get ahead as Ethan Shackleton makes his way ahead of Michael Towers and into fifth position. Has to do it on the brakes, a puff of smoke as the tyres lock up through that corner. Michael Towers still trying to slug it out here on the outside line. He's got to go very brave, very brave around the outside, but the hard tyres of Ethan Shackleton proving to just about have enough grip to hold on to that one. Wongsvat Reversi now under pressure from Aaron McGurk, but my fear is that Wongsvat actually is just ever so slightly faster, and it's going to mean that Aaron McGurk struggles a little bit to try and get himself ahead. As we ride on board with Andreas Senkovan, he's got the DRS still. Has he got the straight line speed? Fastest lap of the race for Wongsvat Reversi. Then fastest lap of the race for the hard tyre runner of Ethan Shackleton. Excuse me, I had some audio interference in my ear there that was putting me off slightly, but Ethan Shackleton with the fastest lap on those hard tyres. Slightly interesting through turn 3 we go. And now Andreas Senkovan is trying to make that move. We're following on with our race leaders. He's been stuck again just in this bit of a DRS train, as still Aaron McGurk hasn't been able to find his way through. Lewis Smith almost goes deep into turn 4, gives Ethan Shackleton a bit of an opportunity. This has been an encouraging stint so far, and with 10 people on the grid, you wouldn't necessarily expect that there's going to be too much interference from the safety car unless someone makes a mistake. When you have those 20-man grids, you can so often find yourself having safety cars at all opportunities. We only had one last time out in Italy. As now Aaron McGurk is just a little bit closer than he has been on previous occasions, but wasn't the greatest through that right-hander. He took a little bit too much curb as Michael Towers receives a 3-second time penalty. That's a bit of a theme that he had at Imola last time. This is also a difficult track limits course. So Versi's just got so much straight line speed. We're on board with Andreas Senkovan as Aaron McGurk looks to find a way to get that race lead. Senkovan seems to be pretty happy where he is at the moment, looks to get that exit to get ahead of Aaron McGurk, short shifting through the gears, but not quite able to get that exit and make his way down to the outside he goes. But again, Aaron McGurk stays at where he is. Lewis Smith is only about 7/10 of a second behind this pack, so there's not really a great deal we can say about Lewis Smith either, as he stays ahead of Ethan Shackleton, but has to stay pretty firmly behind Andreas Senkovan in this Ferrari. Is still Wongsvat Reversi finds himself under pressure from the charging Aaron McGurk, who hasn't stood on the podium yet this season, I don't believe. He got very close at many different times this year. So far, it's all been to no real avail as they make their way into turn 1. Michael Towers with the fastest lap of the race, which is very interesting actually. I suppose everyone has been in traffic. So now into turn 3 they go. Can Senkovan muster something? Doesn't look like he can. There might be a change of position further behind as Carl Stuart Woodard tries to get himself past Jordi Lansing. Out of turn 3 he goes, just gets the power down, but Lansing is a little bit faster. Will follow on board with Carl Stuart Woodard, but I don't think there's going to be a move here for him. Just didn't get the power down, didn't have that straight line speed. But it does mean that Jordi Lansing holds on ahead of the Alpine for the time being. At the front of the field, it stays as it has been for the last 5 laps. That is Wongsvat Reversi, not comfortable in the lead of the race, but in the lead of the race regardless. And Aaron McGurk scrapping around to try and find something. Needs to not overdrive because he only has those 3 warnings to play with throughout the course of the race, and it's very easy to get track limits warnings around here. So expecting 3-second time penalties to happen at some point, as again he looks the inside line, just building that pressure, letting Wongsvat Reversi know he's there. But as we get the throttle down out of turn 1, that's where Reversi has been so good. There's not a lot of battery charge for Aaron McGurk. However, he's got a Ferrari on his outside line. This could be the moment as Andreas Senkovan tries to go all the way around the outside line. He's gone purple in the first sector. This is the attack. He's been charging up his battery for it and has plenty of battery charge to do it. It's a masterclass in overtaking from Andreas Senkovan. He gets to the outside line and is able to find a way through, but are we going to have a safety car as the McLaren gets himself out of the race? That is Adam Watson, who's gone off down at turn 3, I believe it is. And I think we've got away without a safety car, but he is out of this race. He's the first retirement and possibly the only retirement. Everyone else has seemed so comfortable around this Austria circuit. But now the two championship protagonists are right next to each other out on the circuit. As I spoke way too soon, because Jordi Lansing has gone around and we have a virtual safety car because Jordi Lansing has lost his front wing, put debris onto the circuit. It is a classical commentator's curse, and Jordi Lansing is going to have to make his way into the pit lane. A virtual safety car. Into the pit lane he comes, so we now wait for this VSC to end on board with Andreas Senkovan. It shouldn't be too long. Hard tyres for Jordi Lansing. You'd think maybe they can make their way to the end here. He probably needs a safety car to make it comfortable. But hard tyres do have a significant tyre life. Lansing here is keeping an eye on that delta. I don't think his dashboard is updating in real time from our perspective, so we can't see what his delta actually is. I don't think the F1 game shows us accurate versions of that information, but trying not to lose any time as we've got a couple of drive-through penalties speeding under VSC. As we go back to green flag running, it's Jordi Lansing who's got a drive-through penalty speeding under VSC, which is slightly ironic as he was the man who was doing the VSC. Is into turn 1 we go, and all of a sudden Andreas Senkovan is all over the back of Wongsvaart Reversi, and there's a bit of a twitch from your race leader. This is the opportunity for the Ferrari to go to the outside line to finally get a little bit of a points tally ahead of Wongsvaart Reversi, and he makes his way through into the lead of the race. So a mistake from the race leader gives Andreas Senkovan the lead of the race, and right now 8 more championship points in his favour to try and get ahead, squeeze ahead of your championship leader as Aaron McGurk has fallen down a little bit. Let's look at Wongsvaart Reversi trying to get the lead of the race straight back. They'll go side by side all the way through turn 4. Wongsvaart Reversi trying to take that slightly shorter line now to the outside for the left-hander of turn 6, but isn't quite able to find his way through, and the top 3 are so close together. Literally separated by nothing as they go through sector 3, and it's Aaron McGurk all of a sudden all over the back of Wongsvaart Reversi. If he can get into second position, then the Ferrari is starting to rack up the championship points after already finishing second in that sprint earlier on today and getting a couple of points ahead of Reversi in that as well. On board with Aaron McGurk as Wongsvaart Reversi goes to break the toe, will now tuck back into that left-hand side to get that exit and start to challenge Andreas Senkovan as we go out of turn 1, down past turn 2 into turn 3, and Reversi has that overspeed. Andreas Senkovan going to be on the outside line, will have to brake very hard and very firm to hold on to this. They're side by side still, and Andreas Senkovan somehow has stayed ahead of Wongsvaart Reversi. It's a remarkable piece of defending, but it might all be in vain because back through goes Reversi on the inside line. Still Senkovan is trying to hold it out, and he on the brakes gets the outside line. Reversi with the slightly shorter run into turn 6. Back on the inside goes Senkovan. They almost make contact, but Reversi eventually, albeit with a great struggle, gets himself into the lead of the race. This has allowed Ethan Shackleton to catch up as well, and now nearly half the grid are separated by literally 5 tenths of a second or so, and Shackleton as well has got the tyre disadvantage, remember, throughout the course of this first half of the race. So this is working absolutely perfectly for him right now. He probably needs another 10 laps to go on these medium tyres in order to, on these hard tyres even, in order to make this last. As will Senkovan decide to try and get back at Reversi straight away. He's got Aaron McGurk for company as well. Didn't get the best exit out of the first corner, but the DRS is so powerful that he should have the opportunity to try something. Not into this corner. Oh no, he will. He'll dive very late. There's contact between the two of them. Nothing massively doing there, I don't think, as he gets the power back down. I don't think there'll be overspeed or time to make the move this time round into turn 4, and there won't be. But with Reversi making another little mistake, we've got a car stopped. That is Jordi again, and he's once again lost his front wing for the second time in this race. However, I don't think he's lost his full front wing, just one of the end plates on the right-hand side, if you look at that. So we stay without any safety car running for the time being, as the top 4 are so close together. Literally inseparable at this point in the race. A man who has got a drive-through penalty to serve at some point, excuse me, has got a penalty to serve at some point, is Michael Towers, not with it today, as he's in the background of Lewis Smith, both of them now having received a time penalty. But back to the lead of the race, where Andreas Senkovan will try and get himself back past. Plenty of speed. Into turn 3, swoops to that outside line. Should be pretty simple for him, and it is. They all back up next to each other, and just about Andreas Senkovan holds on to the lead of the race. Once that Reversi trying to get back past him as they make their way into turn 4. And Reversi can't do so for the time being. So Andreas Senkovan at the moment is your race leader, but again we question for how long. Jordi Lansing gets another 3-second time penalty. Let's look at that gap between the top 4, so close together. There isn't really anything in them at this stage. Lap 11 of 36, quarter distance in this one. Jordi Lansing has gone around once again. Really struggling, isn't he, in this race? I don't think it will be too long before we see him come into the pit lane and class himself as a retirement from the contest. He's lost that end plate again, so it's going to be another trip into the pit lane, and he goes round for a 3rd time in 2 laps. Jordi really struggles. You just have to feel bad for him. Those tyres will be absolutely cooked at the moment. Lewis Smith has got himself back past on, I believe that's Michael Towers, but we're going to go to the lead of the race because they're battling once again. Wongsvat Reversi on the inside line. They're jockeying for positions. Andreas Senkovan will have to be brave, but this time there is going to be no way he can reply to that one, and Wongsvat Reversi gets himself back into the lead of the race. But for how long? Because again, the way the DRS is around this circuit, unless you can break that kind of toe, then you're going to find yourself with a great deal of trouble, and Jordi Lansing does now make his way into the pit lane and retire from the session. But because he was in the pit lane, we won't be getting a safety car or anything like that to interrupt that one. This strategy, by the way, keep an eye on Ethan Shackleton, because the strategy has played out perfectly for him. He's going to probably gain about 4 tenths per lap when he puts a set of medium tyres on, and he's going to have a little bit of a tyre advantage ahead of these guys in not too long, because their medium tyres will be starting to wear out and his hard tyres will just be going for a slight little bit longer. So he should get himself at least onto the podium here, if not be in contention for the race win. On board with Andreas Senkovan, who's been conserving a lot of energy. This is the same trick he had when he struggled to get past Aaron McGurk a few moments ago, which was that he just tried to tow himself along in the DRS, didn't really have too much interest in battling, as Michael Towers gets himself past Lewis Smith and is able to get through. But we go back to the lead of the race, as even in energy conservation mode, Andreas Senkovan still tries to get through, has that tighter line through into turn 6, but Wongsvat Reversi holds on. This is Andreas Senkovan toying with his food a little bit, because if I go to the telemetry, look at how much battery charge he's got. He's in full conservation mode. Is it a cat and mouse game though? Because it looks like well, it's not, because Wongsvat Reversi is using his energy. So they've both got it in bags. However, Andreas Senkovan has certainly conserved it a little bit better. Aaron McGurk also in conservation mode as Lewis Smith comes into the pit lanes. This is the first of the pit stops. I said about lap 12 when I expected it to happen. And Lewis Smith to put on a set of hard tyres. It will be hard tyres. It's a quick pit stop from Lewis Smith. So lap 12 was the time he chose to come into the pit lane. Looking at Carl Stewart Woodard, excuse me. He'll be looking for his teammate's pace, I'm sure. As we go back to the lead of the race, where Andreas Senkovan is still just behind, but still not using his energy. You'll know when he's coming into the pit lane, because all of a sudden all of that energy will be used by Andreas Senkovan to try and get past and try and build a little bit of a margin. Then you question whether the undercut's going to be employed. Keep an eye on the lap times of Ethan Shackleton, of course. That will give you an idea of when that crossover period is all of a sudden, as Reversi looks like he's coming into the pit lane, commits very early, and it is a pit stop for Wongsvat Reversi. So now, looking for the overcut is Andreas Senkovan. It's right on board with him. Watch him use all of his ERS this time by. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Ethan Shackleton will inherit the lead of the race either at the end of this lap or the end of the next lap, depending on when these two come into the pit lane. Now has the DRS on Aaron McGurk and all of a sudden looks to attack him. I don't know why he doesn't start to use a little bit of energy here. Ethan Shackleton, he's got that opportunity to get past now. As Wongsbat Reversi re-emerges in a little bit of traffic. So this isn't an ideal situation. He's got Carl Stewart Woodard just ahead of him. Now Carl's a good sport. He'll let him through, I'm sure. As, what's this? Aaron McGurk into the lead of the race from nowhere. He's got himself ahead of Andreas Senkerman. I don't think expected to see that coming. I'll be all completely honest with you. And Aaron McGurk pulls the wool over his eyes a little bit and just uses that battery charge to get himself ahead of Andreas Senkerman, who now is falling into the clutches of his teammate somewhat. But I think Ethan Shackleton will be a sport here and won't necessarily start to battle him, as those two look certainly like they're committing to coming into the pit lane. Careful, Ethan. Don't want to take them out. Senkerman and Aaron McGurk into the pit lane. We're on board with Carl Stewart Woodard, who should be into the pit lane this time by as well. And here is Wongsbat Reversi. He's been stuck in a little bit of traffic. That will have lost him a little bit of time. And Carl Stewart Woodard doesn't come into the pit lane. So once again, this could be a crucial moment as he's lost a couple of seconds this lap. Has Wongsbat Reversi. Where is Aaron McGurk? And here we go. Andreas Senkerman and Aaron McGurk are going to get themselves out and ahead of Wongsbat Reversi because of the traffic. Are they? Reversi just about squeezes ahead, I think. Does he? Yes, he does. So Aaron McGurk goes into the lead of the race de facto. Andreas Senkerman, as Carl Stewart Woodard is a good sport and tries to let them through. Andreas Senkerman has lost out from all of that. There's contact as Carl goes into the side of Wongsbat Reversi. Shouldn't be too much damage, I don't think, to either side, but on hard, warm tyres, Wongsbat Reversi now has probably one opportunity to get the lead of the race. His tyres will remain for the rest of this race, a lap younger, a lap older than the two around him. But that traffic just played into the hands of Aaron McGurk so much, and it was a masterclass to get himself ahead and into the lead when he did. And Andreas Senkerman will be massively frustrated. The problem now is that Ethan Shackleton has not got the most healthy of deltas behind him against everyone who's got nicer, fresher tyres than him. His tyres have already almost done half of this race. His strategy now is a little bit of a gamble, I'll be honest with you. He's gone faster, if you think about it, than everyone else on their hard tyres. He's still got about 6 laps, though, before he can justify coming into the pit lane, as everyone did about 16 laps as Carl Stewart Woodard is now into the pit lane. As we see the move for the lead of the race, Wongsbat Reversi barely caught it. Andreas Senkerman looking to squeeze his way through as well. What a race this is turning out to be. Aaron McGurk holds on, however. As Senkerman, I think, just got a little bit too greedy there, trying to get ahead. And now McGurk back to the outside line. Reversi defends for now. And oh, no, he doesn't defend for now because your championship leader spins around. And is he out of the race? He's not, but your championship leader is out of contention for the win of the race. Had no way to see what happened. I think he was involved a little bit with a tag from Aaron McGurk behind. I'm trying to watch the replay on the YouTube stream. I think Aaron McGurk just tagged him, but all of a sudden, your championship leader, the man who's won so many races this season, looks like he's not going to win this one. Andreas Senkerman is more than a second now behind your Nets race leader in Aaron McGurk, and has got Lewis Smith for company just behind him. Lewis will be looking to attack him. Is there damage from Senkerman? I know that there was a little bit of a tag, and I think there is. Look at that. Look at the left-hand side end plates of Andreas Senkerman. It's not there. So your championship leader and your other championship contender, both virtually out of contention. The good thing for Senkerman is there's not a lot of left-handed turns around this circuit, and either way, DRS is very, very powerful. So whilst he's lost to Lewis Smith, if he can just kind of work with it, oh, but look at how much he's losing through the left-handers, because the problem with the fact there not being a lot of left-handers is the fact that if you think about it, the left-handers that there are so quick, need so much downforce. It's so frustrating, but means that Aaron McGurk is suddenly in the driving seat for this race victory for the first time this season. It'll be Williams' first race this season. If we take a look at the championship standings, we can see just how Aaron McGurk has got so much work to do. He's only scored 19 points all season, as Wongsvat Reversi has now set the fastest lap of the race. He's only scored 19 points all season, might be about to score 25, maybe even 26 if he can get that back. But this is a big moment for Ferrari and a big moment, of course, for Reversi, who has got that opportunity. For Senkovan, who's got that opportunity now to try and get himself a few points ahead of Reversi. As to the outside he goes of Lewis Smith, gets himself ahead, albeit struggling a little bit with the handling of that car, with the damage he's carrying, and Lewis Smith has, of course, got a time penalty, so we can just kind of work with Senkovan here to try and get themselves back into the lead of the race. But look at how much extra speed he's got through the fast corners. Means that Senkovan falls behind a little bit for the time being. Wongsvat Reversi with a little bit of a fire in his belly, trying to get himself ahead of Michael Towers, which he will do with the penalty situation. If we look at the penalty situation, you can see it's 6 seconds worth of penalties for Michael Towers at this point in the race. Everyone having completed one stop, of course. And this should be pretty simple for Wongsvat Reversi. He's actually got away with it without a lot of damage. You half expected to see him come into the pit lane, but he just spun around. He just lost time. So actually, Senkovan might be about 5 tenths of a second of a lap slower. This could come back into the favour of Reversi. Still waiting for Shackleton into the pits as first man is taken, first victim's taken for Wongsvat Reversi. You'd think, and when he uses the DRS again to get ahead, he will get himself ahead of Michael Towers pretty comfortably. Andreas Senkovan and Lewis Smith still battling along. And for Senkovan, the plan has now really just got to be stay within that 6 seconds of Lewis Smith and make sure he stays ahead of Wongsvat Reversi. You can see the car bouncing around through the left-hander because he's just not got the downforce to keep with Lewis Smith. The good thing is he's got plenty of straight line speed to try and be there and thereabouts, and through the right-handers he's got no real trouble at all. But this is a tough drive from Andreas Senkovan. Ethan Shackleton has lost about 4 seconds over the course of, albeit 6-7 laps or so. Won't be surprised to see him into the pit lane at the end of either this one or the next one. Maybe lap 23. Expect to see Ethan Shackleton into the pit lane. He'll come out probably about 4th. I'd expect him to stay ahead of... look at the tyres, they may be struggling a little bit at this point. I'd expect him to stay ahead of Wongsvat Reversi. And then it will be all about what pace has he got on those tyres. Lewis Smith still trying to attack, or still trying to defend against Andreas Senkovan. And at the moment, it's been a pretty comfortable job for him, given the fact that Senkovan has not got much in hand, as Reversi under pressure from Michael Towers. What a understeer from Michael Towers. I wonder if he's got any end plate damage. He hasn't actually in that Toro Rosso. Six seconds of time penalties as Ethan Shackleton's into the pit lane. And out of the pit lane as well. Is it a set of medium tyres? It is. We expected that much. And does he re-emerge ahead of Wongsvat Reversi? This is the big question. I don't think he will. I don't think he will, you know. And Wongsvat Reversi gets himself ahead of Ethan Shackleton. So now the positions on your screen are the de facto positions of this race. Everyone has now made their required pit stop as Michael Towers dives to the inside line to get ahead of Ethan Shackleton, whose tyres will be rapidly getting up to temperature. He needs a couple of laps to try and get himself past Wongsvat Reversi, and then it will be 2.7 seconds for his teammate ahead. So that is the progress that Shackleton will be hoping to make. A podium is definitely there for him, but he's got to put in a very, very good drive. At the moment, these guys are just about in range of Lewis Smith's 6 seconds worth of time penalties as well. So as long as they can keep it clean throughout the race, they should, and I say should, be able to get himself through. Through the right-hander we go. Shackleton with brand new medium tyres that he can push throughout the rest of this race without too much of a cliff forming. Smells blood with Wongsvat Reversi just ahead of him, his teammate just 2.1 seconds down the road, looking for what will be second position in the race. He gets a good exit out of turn one. Reversi's got no DRS, just in the top of your picture. You can see slight side-by-side action, but this is where it's at, really. Into turn three we go. It's 100% worth of energy for Ethan Shackleton, who now looks to deploy it all down out of turn three into turn four, and it should be simple for him, and it is simple for him. Reversi has no answer to that, and it's a double Ferrari podium as it stands, just 1.8 seconds between himself and his wounded teammate. The only downside is he's going to be dragging Reversi along with him from a Ferrari perspective. But it's purple in sector 2 from Ethan Shackleton. Could even get himself a second position here by the end of this race. Teammate now just 1.1 seconds down the road, so this is going to be close. His teammate, by the way, has just about stayed with Lewis Smith. We've got a little bit of yellow flags for a moment. That's because Michael Towers had an issue. Looks like both end plates still on that car. As Andreas Senkovan now receives a 3-second time penalty. That does change the equation somewhat. You see him just behind Lewis Smith, looks for the dive bomb briefly. Decides to let his head get in the way. And now he's got his teammate for company as well, as 3 seconds now the gap really between Lewis Smith and Andreas Senkovan. Senkovan will be hoping he just doesn't get any more end plate damage. Watch his teammate now potentially have the opportunity to catch up. Through the left-hander they go, and the speed is so much greater for everyone else. Senkovan struggling every time he gets to this section of circuit, and it gives his teammate a bit of a run. Shackleton shouldn't really be playing the team game here, and they won't be. There's going to be some team orders at Ferrari. And there you go, that's smart. Or is there team orders? No, there's not. Senkovan's into the pit lane. So, wow. This is a bold, bold move. Make sure you get the car stopped. And he does. Senkovan knows this race is falling away from him, so he needs a set of soft tyres, I think, to get to the end of this one. Is it a set of softs or is it some mediums? Oh no. It's another set of hards for Andreas Senkovan. So he's thrown the towel in effectively. Now 4.6 seconds in between Ethan Shackleton and the lead of the race. Right now, looks pretty set that Aaron McGurk is going to take his first race win of the season, but you do just never know. Carl Stewart Woodard gets another 3-second time penalty. Shackleton can take out about 0.2 of a second a lap. He should have enough time to get there, should he? That would be, no, it need to be about 0.5 of a second, wouldn't it, at this stage? 11 laps still to go. It's not a long time around this circuit. And Ethan Shackleton's strategy might just have given him the best opportunity of himself for a race win this season. Reversi trying to get himself ahead of Lewis Smith and dives to the inside line into turn 3. It's a purple sector 1 for him, and he gets the car stopped just in time. Oh, it's the issue we saw in their sprint race. They're inside of each other, and I can tell you that's not happening on their screens. It is just a desync issue, but the net result of it is that Reversi is staying behind Lewis Smith for the time being. Has helped Ethan Shackleton, who's gained 0.5 of a second this lap alone. What lap time's Aaron McGurk doing as he gets to the line? I press my right button. Through the final corner goes Aaron McGurk. It will be 1:07, I'd imagine. 7:05 maybe. Oh, I'm so good. Whereas for Ethan Shackleton, it's 6:07, so he's almost a second faster. When will those tyres hit that cliff, though, is the question. You would expect them to hit a cliff at some point, but we weren't seeing people struggle until about lap 13 on medium tyres, as Reversi now gets ahead of Lewis Smith and into third position. Top 3, the only ones really without any penalties. Of course, Connor Stewart Woodard has got no penalties at the very back of the field, but in terms of the people in contention for, I don't want to say major points and be disrespectful to Connor, but in terms of the honours, let's say, top 3 are the ones without the penalties. Andreas Senkovan basically taking himself out of this race, having to come into the pit lane to get those tyres changed. Get that wing changed, I should say. As already Andreas Senkovan, Ethan Shackleton, just about 3.1 seconds behind Aaron McGurk as they get to the line, 7-4 for Aaron McGurk. And across the line, it's 1.6. It's 0.69 for Ethan Shackleton. So another 7/10 of a second or so as Lewis Smith continues to pressurise Wongsbat Reversi, but with mistakes like that and the superior pace of the Haas driver, it might just be Reversi's day to take that third position. And to be honest with you, Lewis Smith isn't really in his race with 6 seconds worth of time penalties applied to that car. Michael Towers also 6 seconds worth of time penalties. There's it's about 10 seconds in hand realistically then to Andreas Senkivan behind. 3.1 seconds between our guys at the front of the field, and it would be a spectacular race win from Ethan Shackleton if he was able to do it, as Ferrari would extend their championship lead quite significantly. I think we're very much expecting them to go on and win this championship at the end of the season, unless Reversi can find himself a teammate to bite back at the Italians. Silverstone next week. So Smith gets another time penalty. That's really frustrating, because that actually starts to put pressure on behind as we go to the Netherlands and after a week's break, and then Italy after that one. Back to Italy, of course. Monza this time. 3.2 seconds, so that cliff is starting to be found by Ethan Shackleton with 8 laps or so to go in this race. Up 29 of 36. You're watching the Almost Pro Championship on YouTube and on Twitch. This has been one of the more interesting races of the season, as Lewis Smith, all over the back of Wongsbat Reversi, but with 9 seconds worth of time penalties, isn't really concerned about fighting it at this point as much as he is just defending that gap behind. You see the tyre situation for everyone. Ethan Shackleton's been on the mediums for 7. It needs only 7 laps. I don't want to act like there's... I think cliff is probably the wrong word. Those tyres will be still in perfect condition for Ethan Shackleton, but the point is they'll be hitting that crossover point as to where the... we saw it actually when he was on hard tyres and everyone else was on mediums, that crossover point where there seems to be pretty much similar pace between relatively worn hard tyres and relatively worn medium tyres. I think that crossover point very much might have been hit, because he was taking 0.8 of a second a lap or so out of Aaron McGurk. But right now, Aaron McGurk is just 7 laps. Just 7 laps to hook up around here. But if he gets a time penalty, as he's lost a little bit of time this lap as well, if he gets a time penalty, that gives Ethan Shackleton the opportunity to get himself back ahead, as Wongsbat Reversi, don't count him out. He's only 1.0 seconds behind Ethan Shackleton. With Lewis Smith, who continues to push, but in vain really. 9 seconds worth of time penalties for Lewis Smith. It just means that if he does get past Reversi, there isn't going to be much doing after that point. Something dramatic happens in the late stages of this race. We're getting into that late safety car window, where there needs to be a safety car really this lap for the game to want to throw one at all. Ethan Shackleton starting to lose a little bit of time. Maybe not against the man he cares about, which is Aaron McGurk, but certainly against Wongsbat Reversi, who's now within DRS range. And it would be frustrating for Shackleton. So frustrating. Andreas Senkivan, by the way, this is the other mini battle that I'm keeping an eye on, the timings tower on your left-hand side. But actually, Senkivan is 4 seconds now outside of the range of where he'd need to be. He needs to finish within 6 seconds of Michael Towers to get a top 5 out of this race. Top 5 is what he'll want. 2.7 seconds now at the lead of the race, as we'll keep an eye on the lap times, as your race leader Aaron McGurk looking to make it a first race win of the season for Williams and do a few wondrous things for their team's championship position as well. It's a 7-3 for him and a 7-5 for Ethan Shackleton. So he's not catching quickly enough right now, but with the DRS from Reversi, they'll both be going quicker. Maybe there's an opportunity, as Shackleton's going to have to start to defend. This is not what he wants when he's fighting for the lead of the race. Into turn 3, Reversi catches up. The man who was spun around suddenly has the impetus to go and try and challenge for this race lead. with no safety cars either. So this is all on raw pace, and with the medium tyres not quite working for Ethan Shackleton, an experiment that hasn't quite come to fruition. Reversi is so close to getting himself past, and honestly, with what will be 4 laps to go at the line, he's only going to need about 5 tenths of a second a lap to get himself into position. They've gained another chunk on Aaron McGurk this time by. With 4 laps to go, it's going to be very tight, that's for certain. They just need to be smart and not really battle each other here, as Reversi through the final corner will once again have plenty of battery charge to try and fight Ethan Shackleton here. Looks to the inside line. For some reason doesn't really want to use the slipstream, which is slightly interesting. Through turn 1, 4th gear, perfectly planted. And now this will be the opportunity. Blitzes through on the Ferrari. Ferrari power versus Ferrari power. And they've both managed to gain 3 tenths of a second already on Aaron McGurk as they squeeze around that final corner. So 1 second to catch up, to be within DRS range. They need to not really fight each other. I don't think they're going to. Wongsrat Reversi has the better pace hit. 1.8 seconds to Aaron McGurk's race win. It's not going to be a straightforward equation into the last 3 laps of this race. Reversi is gaining so much time. It's gaining time hand over fist. And Ethan Shackleton struggling on slightly worn medium tyres. The hard's proving to be the tyre of choice around here. 3 laps to go then. Wongsrat Reversi needs probably about a second to be within a range of realistically attacking into that final lap. So it needs to be 2 laps from the gods for Wongsrat Reversi if he's going to have an opportunity of winning this race. Already gained a 10th of a second this lap. So as I said, just give himself enough margin to go, and I think all of a sudden Aaron McGurk is struggling in this one. Reversi makes a mistake though. That'll give a couple attempts back to Aaron McGurk as Ethan Shackleton tries desperately to keep up, but hasn't really had the ability to do so. Will he go for the move this time? He won't. Reversi just keeps that car planted. This lap hasn't helped him at all. He's going to need nearly a second in the penultimate lap in order to be able to catch up to Aaron McGurk. Absolute chase scene in the late stages of this one on board with the Williams driver. 1.6, that mistake from Reversi, so crucial in giving the momentum back to Aaron McGurk, but he needs to make sure he avoids getting any penalties in the last 2 laps of this race. 2 laps to go, 1.7 seconds. 1 minute 7.7 for our race leader. Didn't quite see what lap time there was just behind. And now Aaron McGurk really needs to dig in here and find something, and he's finding something because he's gained a 10th of a second or so in just the first sector. What's happened to Reversi here? He's having to defend, and Ethan Shackleton, he's not working with Reversi at all. Can't afford the Ferrari's championship rival to get any more points than required, as Andreas Senkovan now gets himself past Michael Towers, who looks for a fastest lap run into the final lap of this race. That's very brave, just like Daniel Ricciardo in the real world. 2.2 seconds at the lead of the race. So Aaron McGurk has dug in here and has just got about a minute and a half to go before he's going to find himself winning for the first time this season. Still needs to keep it clean, of course. So the battle will turn out to be for second position then, as they make their way through the final couple of corners to start the final lap of the race. Ethan Shackleton has made clearly the worst strategy work, but has it worked perfectly? A second position would be so helpful for him, as defending is Reversi. McGurk starts his final lap of the race into turn 1. Second and third place go. And it's a bit of a mistake from Ethan Shackleton. Doesn't matter, turn 3 is the best opportunity anyway to try and get past. Into turn 3 goes, looks for the dive. That's very optimistic. I think he knows it's a little bit too optimistic, as out of turn 3 they go. Now with the DRS available to him, this is the last opportunity for Ethan Shackleton to get through, and I think he's too far back. Will there be a dive in the late stages? There will be, but he's too far back to even get alongside, so we keep an eye on this man, Aaron McGurk. Just 1 sector still to go. 19 points scored all season long in round 5 of the season. And all of a sudden, starting to look like he's going to more than double that total with one of the most fantastic drives of his season so far. Through the final corner, Aaron McGurk wins for Williams. And it's a fantastic haul of points for him. They'll drag race to the back to the line in the background. But it'll be Wongsvat Reversi who finishes ahead of Ethan Shackleton. Ferrari will be your championship leaders at the end of this one with some good work done in the sprint as well. As here's Andrea Senkovan. Unfortunate in the end of this one to not be in that winning position, but with the wing damage that he took earlier on, unfortunately it is what it is. Of course, we wait to see whether Aaron McGurk will receive a penalty for what happened with Wongsvat Reversi. For my liking, there wasn't anything doing there. It was just a racing incident, but you do never know. And there goes. It works for Michael Towers. He gets the fastest lap of the race on the final lap of the race. And maybe a little bit lucky to do that, but he gets an extra championship point for his troubles. So well done to Michael Towers. No complaints there from him. Waiting for Carl Stewart Woodard to cross the line as well now. And there he goes, he crosses the line. No fastest lap for him. He also went for a fastest lap attempt, by the way. So a nice little battle between the two of them. He gets 7th position there in the end, so that's not even a bad result for Carl Stewart Woodard. Either Shackleton driver of the day. Not sure I'd necessarily disagree with that, honestly. Acrobatics for McGurk's little virtual character on the podium. Fantastic drive from him. Was a little bit of misfortune from others involved, but he was there with them throughout, remember that. And was never too far off being in a winning position anyway. Let's take you through your results very, very quickly before it boots us out of the lobby. Well, I'm hoping I can. I'm hoping I can, but as has been a bit of a theme throughout the broadcast today, unfortunately, the F1 servers aren't wanting to play ball with us today. Let's see if this is going to give us any luck. By the looks of it, not, I'm afraid to say, so we'll get rid of that for a moment and take a moment to grab some interviews with drivers as we reflect on what was a really, really fantastic race in the end. Austria proving to be another really good candidate for racing on the F1 games. But it's Aaron McGurk, a new race winner this season. Hasn't won a race, as I mentioned, all season long. And maybe this is his chance now to get himself back into contention. Not necessarily for the championship, but certainly for going on into the rest of the season. Certainly maybe getting into that top 3 kind of position, or at least bringing Williams up forward a little bit as well. That's it, just waiting to see if anyone does want an interview. Otherwise, we will just call it a day. Give them a couple of minutes. So it's we'll take a look at the sprint results again for anyone who wasn't here earlier on. It was a really entertaining sprint race. Obviously, we've had 2 races today. Ethan Shackleton won it ahead of Andreas Senkovan. So 7 points goes to Senkovan. And then just behind was Wongsvat Reversi. We have finally got an interview, and it is going to be Ethan Shackleton. Ethan, welcome along to the stream. That was a really entertaining race. You obviously went for the different strategy to everyone else. Looks like it didn't quite work out in the end, but you still got into the top 3.
Yeah, I don't think the strategy was bad actually, but I don't think it was good. I think it was pretty much equal actually. Yeah, about halfway through the race, I'm sat there behind them all, about a second off the lead, thinking, "Oh, I've got this. I'm on the better tire than that later on, and I'm going to run past them." But yeah, that medium was terrible actually. about maybe 6 laps on it, and I'm just matching the hard pace. I'm not even quicker. It was a bit depressing at the end, but I'm very happy with the
Yeah, that's what we said actually. That kind of it seemed that about 6 laps, because you had a couple of laps where you were catching about 8 tenths of a second a lap ahead of Aaron, and then suddenly around that lap 6 kind of mark, you just stopped catching, and then Reversi started being there. Were you kind of thinking maybe I can work with him and get up to Aaron, and then you don't know what's going to happen when there's 3 of you battling, or was it very much just, I'm not going to say damage limitation, but looking for second position?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think. Well, Reversi was obviously quicker than the leader towards the end, but I don't think he was quick enough by enough to catch. Otherwise, I would have let him through earlier and just followed him in the DRS. But well, that's kind of what I did anyway because I didn't have the pace to fight him. But yeah, I don't think he had the pace to catch up the. I'm not sure how far behind he was, but probably about 5 seconds.
Well, final question. I'll quickly touch on it as well. You won in the sprint. So actually, overall, you've kind of finished second in the round. Let's say, because you've got the 8 points for the sprint win as well. It was a very, very good drive there.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed the sprint because the whole time, yeah, I was with Andrea, and then I was really impressed with our teamwork. We were like, to the start of it, we were kind of swapping, not every lap, but like most laps, and we would let each other through without losing time. It was really fun. And then towards the end, we had a bit of a battle over the actual lead of that. But it's a shame that the points are so low for it compared to the, for example, if you finish like 5th, it's only about a 5-point gap to the lead, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, thank you very much. Very well done, and we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
That was Ethan Shackleton. We're going to have a chat now to Aaron McGurk. Aaron, welcome along to the stream. Congratulations, your first victory this season. He has got his mic muted, hoping that he can hear me. We get a word from Aaron McGurk. This is his big moment. Hello, Aaron. Can you hear me? I guess he's got his mic unmuted. He's just typing to me. Give me a moment. We'll let Aaron sort his mic out. Looks like we've got no luck with Aaron McGurk, so I'll drag him out. We'll go chat to Kyle and then speak to Aaron a little bit afterwards. Kyle, welcome along to the stream. Unfortunately, Aaron's mic's not working, so we'll chat to you before we go back to him. That was an interesting race. You had a bit of an interesting battle for fastest lap at the end. As well, I'm getting no luck today. Sounds like Kyle's gone as well. Wow, this is they clearly don't like me.
Hello?
Hello, Aaron. We've got Aaron. There we go. We'll go to Aaron first. Hello, Aaron.
My Discord is screwed. It like wouldn't let me talk unless I had to push to talk. Which I've never had to do before. Weird.
Anyway, I'll repeat my question. Well done, Aaron. First win of the season. It was a fantastic drive.
Yeah, well, it's my first properly clean race. Well, I say clean, but clean for me anyway. A lot of the races have just been outgone away, and then this race I was taking it very calmly, and we were just training me, Tata, and Kenke. I don't know what their real names are, unfortunately. What are their names?
Wongsvat and Andreas Senkvan and Ethan Shackleton were the people you were battling with.
Yeah, I don't think I remember all that. But anyway, yeah, we were just racing normally, and then I remember everything was pretty clean in that feature race, and then on the hards I came out ahead of everyone, and I was like, okay. And then I just let Tata through and was expecting it to go the same way where we were just training. And then whatever lap it was, there was a weird thing where I wasn't going for the move, and Tata defended the inside. And then I just slowed down, let him through, let him do his thing. And then he was like still on the apex. So I was kind of waiting for him to accelerate, and it just never happened. And then it was weird because it just looked like I punted him off, but I was like, I wasn't even really putting that much throttle in, so I'm very confused by the incident. I need to watch it back myself.
Yeah, I think I think Wongsvat was saying that you didn't hit him either, so I don't know, maybe some kind of netcode thing. Either way, I think you're probably in the clear
It
from.
seemed kind of netcode to be honest, but um, even if that is a penalty for me, I'm happy enough because I'll take P2 because a lot of the races just haven't been going my way. I feel like I am probably third on pace in this league, but I'm currently like ninth. So that's just kind of how bad it's been for me. And then finally, Austria is one of a good track for me. I think every track remaining is a good track for me. Like the first four, normally I'm good at Bahrain, but then Bahrain I got killed. I think the rest of the tracks I'm good at. So hopefully should be able to recover. But anyway,
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much, Aaron. Well done again. We'll speak to you soon.
all right, speak to you later.
There's Aaron McGurk. We can drag in the Alpine teammates now. Kyle is back with us. Lewis Smith as well. We'll start with you, Kyle. Tough race again, but you had a bit of a battle for fastest lap at the end. Michael Towers got it though. It's,
Talk to you for a not very good mic because my headset's not working for some reason. So hopefully you can hear me well.
yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you repeat the question for me, sorry?
Difficult race. You still got 7th, which is a good amount of points, but a bit of a fastest lap battle at the end that Michael Towers pipped you to.
I forgot to put hot lap mode on, didn't I? So I got into turn 3 and I went, I am not in hot lap mode. So I got a purple sector 2. I didn't quite see what the third sector was in the end, but it's 5 attempts. I feel like I really could have had it, but yeah, I absolutely forgot to put my hot lap mode on, and that was my down. I was focusing too much on making sure I didn't get lapped by Aaron, because that would have ruined the whole thing. So yeah, that's a bit upsetting for me. It's my own fault. Same with the sprint that I forgot to put a setup on. So my poor results are my own fault today, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's still not horrendous. Alpine, you guys are making up some good progress in the teams anyway. Good opportunity to bring in Lewis. Lewis, I think penalties possibly the undoing today. You were in and around that top 3 battle for pretty much the entire time. What ended up losing you that one?
Yeah, it's a difficult race. Didn't quite have the pace to keep up with the top guys. I kind of was just about hanging on for a large part of that race. Kyle did an amazing job. I triggered an undercut, and as soon as these guys boxed, he defended like amazingly to help me get back in there. And then I guess I was just me being floppy. I guess just couldn't really capitalize on that as much as possible. But I think P4 is probably the best I could have done today. So we'll take the points as a team.
Absolutely, and it was a decent drive enough in the end. I'll open it up to both of you. Where do you go, teams championship wise? What's the goal?
I mean, Ferrari are obviously looking very strong right now. Wong's obviously been the only Haas. He's scoring a lot of points, but hopefully that's. I mean, the win is still possibly on, but I think P2 would be a great goal. I think we're working quite well as a team. It's our first season as teammates, and I think we're working quite well. Like today, I knew my battle was only with P8 behind because I'd lost the ground to the leaders because of Yordi's not very smart driving. And so I figured, you know what, if my race is only behind, then I can help Lewis. And that's when I knew that I would come out in front of the leaders once they pit. So just kind of hold him up a little bit, help my teammates sort of catch up, and obviously get the result he got in the end. But yeah, I think P2 is reasonable. Yourself, Lewis?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think obviously I don't know if anybody knows it, but the first 2 races that we did together, we pretty much did separate. We had no clue strategy or anything like that. So it's a case of consistency, I think, for both of us in terms of putting points on the board. We've not. I think I can speak for both of us. I don't think we've both had a weekend where we've had that stroke of luck, which obviously you need sometimes. So I think obviously goal is obviously to win it, but I think we're on target for P2, and I think if we keep doing what we're doing, I think we should be well in reach of that.
That's agreed. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And so that does it for another week of racing here on the Almost Pro Championship. Thank you very much for watching. 7 days' time, we will return where we will be in Silverstone, Great Britain, for just a normal race weekend. So no sprint that time round, but it will be Silverstone, one of the most historic tracks on the calendar. For myself, Tom Dillon, from everyone at APC, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all later. Good night.
We're underway and racing. Stay on the brakes, goodness me, what a launch! The outside of turn 1 and